Hey everyone, welcome to Book of Katherine. So it is still Memorial Day, and I just thought I'd share with you, I'm about to tape something else, and I thought I'd share with you a little bit about my research, when I do my research, and what I have learned to use and what I have learned not to do. For example, when I go, like for example, I knew about the Ronald Reagan quote that I used today. I had been to his library. I was leaving California, and we had been to just about, I worked in like every city in California, and we were leaving, and it was like the one landmark we had not done, and we were like, well, we better do the one thing we hadn't done, because everyone in California loved it. And I thought that was rather odd since he was a Republican president, and I was like, well, if I didn't understand that, and everyone still praised the Reagan Library. And we were like, well, if we're leaving, we better go do it. And so we went ahead and did it on our way out to make sure that we did the one California landmark we hadn't done. So we were laughing about it because a friend came from overseas and visited and was going from Northern to Southern California. And he went down the whole state, and we had a restaurant for them to visit in every town. They're like, oh, and you have to go visit here, and oh, you have to go. And I was like, oh wow, we really know California. So, but the point is that so when we went to the Reagan Library, I had read all of these things that he said. That's where I learned about how many states voted for him, and it explained a lot of things to me, right? But my point is that's where I learned about this quote. I really fell in love with that quote about and learned from it, like freedom is fragile, but it can die with every generation. Like every generation has to protect freedom. Like, your freedom's going to be, people are going to try and take away your freedoms with every generation. And every generation is going to have to fight for their freedoms. Like they're not just going to stay. There's always going to be someone trying to take away your freedoms. They have to be fought for in every generation. And so ever since then, I've tried to find the quote online, and I've never been able to find it. There's even some things he said about marijuana. I can't find them online, right? And so when I was going to tweet that out to you today, I was like, I tried to find his quote, and it was so funny because just as usual, what came up on the search page was like, Wikipedia, which I can't trust. Like Wikipedia blocks pages. Is like for 9/11, they block the best researcher in the world, like the one person, like, and from my research, like, they have a block list, like it's documented that they have a block list and they add people to the block list. It also, there's going to be research in the future that I'm going to show you, that people can post stuff up and it's like the best research, and so they take it down. Like they don't want you to have access to it. They change it. I've already shown you stuff. Like I've posted stuff from Wikipedia that's been found, like proof of things, like who funds what marches and things like that. And then the next day it's gone from Wikipedia. Like it's kind of like just a shell site. You know what I mean? And so I was like, okay, I can't read Wikipedia. I can't trust what I read on there. And then I go down the next one and I'm like, well, it's the Washington Post. I can't read anything there. And I just go down the line and it's like all these places that I can't trust. And it was the Reagan Library, which I knew I could trust. At least the last time I visited, I could trust. I saw on it that they had done renovations, and I'm like, oh no, like I don't know what they're doing because, but I hope that they handled it well. But the Reagan Library wasn't even till the next page. Like Google didn't even have it until like a page or two over. And so they had all these other things coming up before it. And all of them were things that I've learned not to use. Like I don't even click on them. So if it's left media, like if it's CNN, and those are the things that Google will always bring up. And even the DuckDuckGo will bring those up. And so my point is that when I research and do research, and when I research on things, there are sites I will not click on. When I'm looking for research, I don't look within the tag and say, oh, does this have the search terms that I'm looking for? I don't do that. I do the search term, and then I look into the site, and I look at the site and I say, which site is it? And then when I find a site that is credible, like if that isn't one of the others, right, and isn't a blog or whatever, then I go ahead and I read if it's the keywords, if that makes sense. like if it's separate. And even things like Breitbart, like if it's after Andrew Breitbart passed away, like then I'm like I have to kind of stay away from like you have to learn those sorts of things. Like you have to take it with a grain of salt. But like I don't even click on it. Like I don't even click on it because you can't. For example, like I clicked on like it always bites you. It always bites you. For example, I sent you that chart of the, like I was on my phone and so I didn't get to see where the sites were. I didn't get to see any of it, and it pulled up a chart. I was searching images and I couldn't see where they were coming from. And I sent you that chart, that pyramid of like all the GOP members, and it was showing where people were. And it gave you the impression of like where people had been voting. And it showed this is where they voted on the Obamacare bill. And that I'm glad I shared it with you because it gave me, I was like, right, it separated out the GOP for me than just, they're all Republicans and they all vote in a block vote. They don't. There's a whole range of like votes. They don't all vote the same way. And suddenly the reality of like, what I know about Washington crashed with like, how we think of it of like, we're going to have to vote Republican now. Like, no, like there's variations within it, and what do those variations look like? And then I realized that whole pyramid had just followed the left. It's the left, we've left, that pyramid followed as well. And so when it said moderate conservative, I was like, oh, no, that just means like liberal. Like that's they not necessarily liberal, but when they're saying moderate conservative, they mean they're voting DNC. Like if they're not voting, when it comes to voting. So but then later on, like when I decided to look into it and see like, well, what are they saying about like who is where? And then they had Rand Paul listed with Ted Cruz, and like they had certain people listed with Ted Cruz. And I was just like, I know what Rand Paul, he wrote a book and I know what he actually said. And I was like, Rand Paul should be like all the way over there. Now, luckily I had already researched the people that I had written about that day. Luckily, I had researched them on my own. I mean, I didn't just take that graphic. And now that I think about it, the reason I didn't just take that graphic at face value is because of where it came from. It came from the New York Times. And I was like, well, that means nothing. Like, that means nothing. All it gave me was like, they don't vote as a block. They really are varied. They all vote differently, and they don't vote as a block. They don't vote together. And I was like, right. And it made me go research them separately. And it really worried me because McCain was like not even out there. But then when I went back to look and I was like, Rand Paul, and then I saw it said ideology. It wasn't votes. And I was like, that was very sly and very tricky. And I was like, that's why you cannot trust them at all. Like they have these slicky little terms. And so I just wanted to share with you like how I researched, like I just, that one got me because I was looking at images. I'm still glad that I found it and everything. But I didn't use it for research. I didn't sit there and say, okay, based on this is how they're voting. I wasn't like, go look and find your person. I said, go and look up your person's votes. Like, that's what I said, right? I wasn't like, read the New York Times article. The reason I linked the article is I was like, this is where it came from so that you know. Because I don't like to do that. I don't like to steal or whatever. But I was like, I don't even think it was worth it then. Like, I wish, like, I had gone, it's just so not worth it. It's so not worth it. So usually the things on the front page, like, that's why I use DuckDuckGo and not Google, because they are so left-leaning. And that's one of the things that I want to point out to you is that, for example, when I was like, make sure that, you start reading the people who have fought, socialism or communism in the past, in our nation's history, what did you go to use to find, like, to go read Ronald Reagan? And what did you use to find to go, read Thomas Jefferson or George Washington or Martin Luther King? Like, what are the engines or the means by which you went to find them? If it was like Google, or if it was Amazon, you know what I mean? Or if it was Facebook to find those people, or if it was Wikipedia, like, you went to the left and said, can you help me, please? You can't go to the left and ask them for help. Like, they're going to change the quotes. They're going to change the results. They're going to, manipulate the rate. Like, they're not going to give you you have to go outside of the system. And that's hard. That's why I say, like, when I put up books, I put them up on on Walmart. I don't use Amazon's links because, you know, Amazon just uses their money for other things. But it's also like the way they twist the results and things like that. They're not going to give it to you. Like, even today I was looking for a book and Amazon just, the way they handled the book, they just wouldn't even, like, they wouldn't even, so the way they handled it was like they just didn't want anyone, and Google and all of them, like, it was a really powerful book and they just didn't want anyone to find it. It was really clear. And it's more and more that's happening as I go back and back further. I'm going to show you a video on finding books from before that are really valuable. I'm really excited to share those with you. But that's when it really comes out, when it's the things that are really powerful that it will, your guys are going to like really love, like the Jordan Peterson books of the day or whatever, the things that are super, super empowering, and the source material, things like that. You know, that's when you start seeing how the engines work against you. And so that's just how I research. I just skip over, like, if I want good sources, and that's how I find it. I look right there at the address and I'm like, well, where is it coming from? Where is it coming from? Okay, is that something that's outside? Okay, we'll look for it. So like I'm about to go ahead and tape a video on a subject on sanctuary cities. And that I really had to work. Like, sanctuary cities, man, they had so much stuff, and it was just all. It was interesting because they really, it was like Forbes, and who's just like all of it. It was really funny because knowing the billionaires now, the Forbes top 400, knowing those names now, oh, like, this is dirt. Oh, this is such dirt. You guys are going to love this dirt. Okay, when you know the Forbes top 400 now, and or like the top 10 of that, it changes what you notice. Like, it really changes what you notice. Like the monk debates, like, you know, those big monk debates that I don't agree with anyone going to. Like, I don't think it helps out at all. Like, it puts people in a state of anxiety. It is not helpful to anyone. Remember what Jerry Weintraub said. He said, every moment you're doing one thing, you're not doing something else. Like, you could be writing another book instead of just arguing and getting beat up and like letting the left be like, arr. Think about it this way. You could be arguing with the middle. Like, you could be fighting for the middle instead of fighting for the left. The left is not going, like, they're not worth your time. Like, you're learning. For example, when I told you to go look up the Open Society stuff, what did you find? You found every question that you've been asked, which means, and I know some of you told me, you're like, I thought about, get this. You thought about Candace's open seat sitting next to her and how no liberals came to sit down and talk to her. Yeah, that's like when you go to a college campus and speak, do you really think that anyone's, if they're not coming to sit down next to her and talk to her on a college campus, unless it's a paid shill, who do you think those students are that are coming up and talking to you? If all the questions are coming off of the Open Society site, you know, like, what are you doing wasting your time? Like, go tour with like Jordan Peterson, do another tour, like, do tours and go out there. Why sit there in a classroom of 200 seats when you could be on tour in an auditorium of 3,000 seats? The students can get student tickets. They can go see you there, and you'll reach another 1,800 people who are in the middle, who are voters in the middle that can actually vote out a socialist regime. Like, who can vote to get their freedoms back and will be happier. Like, do you understand? Like, that's why they want you there, because you're not out there, like, winning the middle over. You know, because those are the hearts, you know, that while you're doing that, that means they get to be on the television winning over the middle. You know, winning over the middle. That's why that's why all their comedians are out there telling political jokes. They're not out there they don't bother with college campuses anymore, but they're all still on tour. That's why Kathy Griffin went back on tour. That's why the left wasn't like, oh, you shouldn't go back on tour. They got her right back on tour. You can bet that's like selling. You know, so anyway, I got off topic. So I don't remember. I was saying something, and I think it was really important, and I'm really sorry if I left it on the table. Let me see if I can remember it. I will try. Just a moment. That's right. So the monk debates. Now that I know those top 10 names, I noticed on the back of the Jordan Peterson monk debate, like on the back, like I know it's a really famous debate and everything, but if you look on the back wall of the monk debate, did you see who the monk debates are sponsored by? It's sponsored by Facebook and Bloomberg, or like Facebook and Forbes. I was like, the monk debates, which are about openness and diversity of thought, are actually run by the two wealthiest billionaires in the world. Are you getting it? Are you getting how important it is to know those names? Because then you see what they're actually in charge of. Do you see why would the two wealthiest billionaires in the top 10, like they invest in things that make them money? It makes them money to have Jordan Peterson go out there and get pummeled against these people. It gets the left fired up. Who are they going to fight against if you don't go in there? You know, if you just don't show up, if you say no. Like, I thought it was really interesting because everybody was like, oh, Kathy Newman's going to lose her job. Kathy Newman's going to lose her job after that Jordan Peterson-Kathy Newman debate, right? And I don't fault Jordan Peterson. He's new. He's getting tossed into this. But for the people who've been fighting for 20, 30 years, like 40 years, like, I'm like, you learn by now, like, right? So, and things are getting really dangerous. Like, this is just strategy, right? It's just, like, when you step back, you can see it. So, like, why would two wealthy billionaires who've made a ton of money off of the DNC, like, why would they want that? Why would they fund that? Why would they didn't have a conservative group and a liberal group funding it? No, 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 no. No, 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 no. And what's Facebook doing? They are silencing conservatives. No, it's a tax write-off of them that will make them more money in the long run. Mm-hmm. So, oh, I lost my train of thought again. It's really warm. All right, I will be back. Just a moment. Yeah, anyway, so yeah, those wealthy billionaires, they want you off in the side, in the small rooms, in the college classrooms, and you know, they're okay with the comedians not this. Those are their mouthpieces. Like, the comedians convince people, and so they send them out on the road. You know what I mean? They don't need them in the college classrooms anymore. They're fine with that. But they have them on the talk shows and everything like that. And, you know, continuing, and the right doesn't have anyone. Like, no one anywhere. You know, and let me just ask you this. Like, let me give you this. For example, like, everyone's like, oh, the right is developing. Like, that's not true. And I'm going to do something on a hate network so that you guys know that. But let me just, like, where are they going to develop? Where can they meet? Like, where, let me ask you this. Where do conservatives go for entertainment? What do conservatives watch for entertainment? What movies do they go to? What shows do they go to? Like, are you getting me? Like, unless they're Christians, which a lot of them aren't, like, plenty of conservatives that aren't Christians, especially today, because now conservative is 90% of all political views, except for this little one over here that's communism. You know, basically anyone who believes in democracy. You know, if you believe in democracy, you're a conservative. Where are they supposed to go for entertainment? And so I'm just kind of like, why are you sitting in a college classroom where the public isn't allowed? You've got this huge America, you know, that needs some place to go for entertainment. You know, go fill like 3,000 seats. You know, let them congregate together and meet. That's what they don't want. It's like the last thing that they want or whatever. So anyway, so of course they're going to sponsor it so that everybody, every time they see Jordan Peterson, he gets beat up. Just like, you know, they want to control it. Like when he does an interview with NBC and everyone's like, I can't believe they got him so wrong. Are you the whole point is to get him wrong. It's like a Polish person in the middle of World War II, and Hitler invites them and says, you know, we want to do an interview with you for our paper. And the Polish person's like, okay. And then they're like, wow, they really painted me out to be a horrible Polish person. And all Polish people should be like eliminated. I'm like, could they be any more clear? Like, I don't know why anyone, I'm like, they've shown, I don't get it. I just don't get it. So I don't know why anyone's shocked. So, and so that is exactly what I mean. Like when you go across, when I do my research, I look at all of it. And when I just look at those websites and I'm just like, okay, let me look. All right. Is any of this from them? And most of them will be, especially on Google. And I don't even click on those sites. So I went way longer than I thought I was going to go on that. But I don't even go to those sites. Be aware of the billionaires and like what they're funding. And like when you see debates, like to be honest, like Politicon, I showed you those pictures side by side of like Dinesh versus Cenk. Oh, I think I have it on my computer. Hold on, I'll show you. Ooh. Okay, I don't know if this is going to show up very well, but like, I don't know if you can see that. Like, can you see that? Do you see that difference right there? Like, that's how they shot the debate between Dinesh D'Souza and Cenk. Like, do you see this? Like, I can't even, he looks like he's practically in grayscale, like, oh God, did I lose it? I think I lost it. But like, I was watching it and it would just switch between like Dinesh and it would be like grayscale and then Cenk and it would be like, ah, and then Dinesh and then grayscale and then Cenk and then, ah, and he would just look like an angel and then Dinesh would just look like, and it was such manipulation, you know, and I know that, you know, the TYT's cameras or whoever, you know, were over there. It looked like maybe they've lit the whole place just for Cenk, but that is such psychological. Remember how I said there's stuff going on that you don't know about? Like, that is just the least of it. Like, that's the least of it. So that's what I mean. It's like you can't touch it. It's just a little web that you can't touch. And so when I research, like, I don't even touch their stuff. And when you don't touch their stuff, boy, you can come across some of the most amazing research. You really, really, really can. You can come across some amazing sources that just slip through the cracks and stuff. And it's amazing. It really is. You know, like, for example, eventually you get to the Reagan Library. Like, I finally found the quote because I was like, you know, maybe the Reagan Library, and Reagan Library they actually had all the archives and they have every one of his speeches. And I was like, yes. And also, like, Wikipedia, like, I do sometimes go on Wikipedia, but I have to, like, I know all of it's, like, messed. I go in with a mind. Like, I go in with the knowledge that it's all messed up. So I go in and I, you know, go in with the knowledge of, like, it's not all going to be here, if that makes sense, or what's going to be here is skewed, like horribly skewed or not totally true. And I just know it's always the reality. It's always the reality they want us to see. Like, the reality there is always that which, you know, it just happens to line up with the reality, you know, that the mainstream media has. It just happens to line up with the reality of open society. Oh, here is a perfect example. Chinese medicine, acupuncture. Entire billions of people, you know, thousands of years. Works. It's just another culture's form of medicine that works. They had the printing press 1,000 years before us. Totally legit, right? Works. Healthy as a horse. Super healthy culture, super healthy desert, you know, whatever. Like, not dying off like we are or anything like that. Use acupuncture. You go on Wikipedia and they list it as junk science. Literally in its side tag, junk science. Who does that serve? Oh, it gets better. Like, the hospitals actually offer it. Like, hospitals offer acupuncture. Like the pain clinics. A lot of pain clinics today offer acupuncture, and most health insurance plans actually cover acupuncture. And yet they call it junk science. Why do they do that? Who does that help? Who does that help? It's because someone goes on there wondering, should I switch? My Western medicine isn't working out. Should I switch? And then they're like, oh, it's junk science. Okay, and they move on. Remember, our health industry is 1/6. We pay more for our health than any other country in the world. By a long shot. Number 2, we pay double than the second one down. Like, we are paying phenomenal rates. Like, it's insanity how much we're paying. And Wikipedia just helps them out on that, don't they? So just, you have to keep this stuff in mind. You have to keep it all in mind. So that's my 2 cents. Of course you can just, toss it. It's just my opinion, if that helps. I hope that helps for those of you who are curious, since I talked about, research and listening to the left, and disconnecting today and things like that. I do have something on books anyway, we'll just leave it. We'll leave that for a video. But there is another video coming on like literature that you can read, like how to buy literature that's actually good, solid, that's being eliminated from the libraries, how to find it and how to buy it, how to know when it's good and things like that. So I'm really excited about that video. I already taped it and I just haven't gotten it out yet. So, and it will be out. So we'll do it. Hope I didn't wear myself out for the Sanctuary City thing, because I'm so scared to tape that thing. All right, I am, but we will do it. We'll do it. I know that it's important. So, all right. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you for following me, and hit like, subscribe if you want to make sure you stay up to date, and yeah, if you want to, you can follow one of these here. And if you could please donate, please, because I do work really hard on these videos, and it would be great if we could actually like get a server to back them up. The server fund is basically they're censoring videos off the line, and the server would be a way for me to actually have all the videos backed up, and then I could just upload them from my server. And so they would just, I would have a server and I could get a website that just has all the videos so that YouTube couldn't take them down. We'd have a site where just the videos would stay up and YouTube couldn't wipe them. Everyone's like, oh, we need to get, a place where YouTube can't wipe them. Well, that's what I want to do. I want to be able to get a backup place where we can just have a nice thing. So anyway, that's my 2 cents. Peace out, guys. Happy Memorial Day. I know this will be after Memorial Day, but it's Memorial Day. And I'm glad you enjoyed my sunset. That was amazing. All right, bye.